Hello class, in this video we are going to discuss the methods of solving quadratic equations. Let's delve right into this.
Welcome to Math with Father. Welcome to Math with Father. Subscribe, like and share.
Methods for solving quadratic equations. There are several methods for solving quadratic equations, and we are going to discuss some of them. Now, our first method would be factorization method, or method by factorization. The second method would be the graphical method. The third method would be the formula method, and the fourth method would be completing of squares. Alright, so starting with the first method, factorization, it also has diverse ways of solving, or the mode in which the questions are formulated. For graphical, we would touch on it, and then with the formula method is the simplified form of the completing of squares. So most of the times for core math, these two are not normally used, the formula and then the completing of squares. These are frequently used in the elective mathematics, and we would also talk about these two. So starting with the factorization method. Under the factorization method, the questions are formulated in different types, and we are going to talk about all the types. So starting with the first type, type 1. Solve the following equations. Alright, now let's start with the first one, which is in the first bracket, x plus 2 multiplying the bracket x minus 3 equals 0. Alright, when the question is given to you in separate brackets, how do you solve it? Solving any quadratic equation, we would be obtaining two roots or solutions. So if quadratic equations has two solutions or roots, which may be equal or not, and the root of the equation is equating the quantity or variable. So from our equation, we have a quantity or variable x, and anytime you are given any quadratic equation, you are finding for these quantities or variables. So with this, since these are already grouped, we equate each of the factors to the 0. Starting with the first one. So what I normally tell students is, anytime the question is given to you in two factors, now draw this thin line and write them in separately. Write the factors separately. The first factor is x plus 2 equated to 0. Now the second factor is x minus 3 equal to 0. Now we want x, which is the variable. X is equal to the number 2 is taken to the other side of the equation, and it becomes negative 2. The other x is also computed as x is equal to the number negative 3 is taken to the other side and it becomes positive. So these are the roots or the solutions to this quadratic equation, and our conclusion would be hence x is equal to, so anytime you are to conclude on your solution, the smaller number first, and comparing negative 2 and negative 2 and 3, negative 2 is the smaller number followed by 3, so negative 2 or x is equal to 3, and these are the solution sets or roots to our quadratic equation. The next question, x multiplying the bracket x minus 5 equals 0. X multiplying the bracket x minus 5 equals 0. Our second question. First question. Similar to what we already did to the first question, if the factors are already grouped, just create a thin line and separate them. So here we have x, which is factored out from this bracket, and our x is equated to 0. So we have x, which is already equated to 0. And our factor x minus 5 is also equated to 0. So we want x from this equation, and our x is computed as 5. So what are our roots? They are 0 and 5. So our conclusion would be therefore or hence x is equal to 0, the smaller number first, or 5. So please get your learning materials and solve the last question. Solve the last question. So I'll provide solution to the last question in short. So please, anytime I upload new video, watch my shorts to validate your answer to the questions you are mandated to solve. Let's move on. So our next aspect is to move on to the next type. So this is type 1, when the equations are given this way into separate factors. This is how to solve them. These are how to go by. Let's move on to a different type, type 2. Still under the factorization method. When the equation is given in the general form, which is ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. How do we solve this? So let's write down this equation. Solve the following equation. Alright. So type 2, when the question is in the general equation form, and these are the questions, let's delve right into the solution. So starting with the first one, x squared plus 7x plus 12 is equal to 0. So under the second type, we are still going to use the factor approach to solve this. So if you would recall to some of my recent videos, I've been explaining more on quadratic equations. So please do the needful to watch my uploaded videos as a guide and to make science a reality. Now, our a, comparing this to the general equation, ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. So comparing our given equation to the general equation, our a from here is 1, our b is 7, our c is 12. So from our constant terms, which are a, b, and c, we are going to find for our products of fruits, and then our sum of fruits. So with the products, the coefficient of x squared, which is a, that's 1, is multiplied to the constant term c, which is 12. So 1 by 12 for our product, and our result is 12. So for product, our result is 12. And for the sum, which is the second term, we are going to find out factors from the product 12. When added, we'll be getting the number 7. So from the factors of 12, let me leave them here. 1 by 12 gives us 12. 2 by 6 gives us 12. 3 by 4 gives us 12. So these are the factors of 12. And from these factors, we are going to choose our sum from. So 1 plus 12 is giving us 13, which is not equal to 7. 2 plus 6 is giving us 8, which is not equal to 7. 3 plus 4 is equal to 7. So meaning for the sum, we are going to pick these two numbers, 3 plus 4, for our sum. So 3 plus 4 as our sum. And we are going to replace our second term by 3 plus 4. So x squared plus, the first number is 3, but you should also bear in mind that the number 7 is attached to x. So x is added to these two factors. So 3x plus 4x plus 12 is equal to 0. So this is the expanded form of our second term, which is 3x plus 4x. So at this point, we are going to group them into factors, which is putting them into brackets. Now x squared plus 3x is kept in one bracket, and 4x plus 12 is also kept into one bracket. So the operational sign in between the two brackets should be plus. The operational sign in between the two brackets should be plus. Okay. So in class, the students ask, say, what if I initiate the negative sign? So if you want to initiate the negative sign, the sign or the operational sign inside the second bracket should also change. Let's see how this would be. So assuming I want to initiate the negative sign, so this is how it would be: x squared plus 3x bracket close minus, so if this is minus, it affects this bracket. The first expression changes to minus 4x, the second expression also changes to minus 12 equals 0. So let's simplify. X squared plus 3x, negative by negative 4x, that will be positive 4x, negative by negative 12, that would be positive 12 equals 0. So we could see that we've gotten back our equation back. So if you want to initiate negative, the inside the second bracket also changes, the sign changes. But if you don't want any problem with your equation, just group them into two by placing them into these two brackets, and within this bracket, within the bracket, initiate the positive sign. Now let's move on. So we have x squared plus 3x plus into brackets 4x plus 12 is equal to 0. Let's check. X squared plus 3x bracket close, all in one bracket, x squared plus 3x in one bracket plus 4x plus 12 equals 0. So let's check. Plus 4x plus 12 equals 0. So from here we are going to factor out the common expression, and from the first bracket we have x squared, we have 3x. So there is an x, there is an x. S is taken outside the bracket. So x out. So one of the x from this x squared is taken out. So 1 is also left inside, plus the x attached to 3 is also taken out. So we have only 3 here, plus 4x plus 12, and 4 could be taken out because 4 is also a factor of 12. So 4 is taken outside our bracket. 4 is taken out. So what is left here? X plus what is also left here? 3 is equal to 0. At this point, we have the expression x plus 3, x plus 3, and this tells us that the expression x plus 3 repeats itself here, and these factors compounds, right? So it becomes a compound factor. So these compounds and it becomes a compound factor. One of the factor is picked since it repeats itself. So we would combine x plus 4 as one factor here, x plus 4 as one factor here, and choose one of the compound factor. Bracket close, x plus 3 is equal to 0. So we are back to our first type when the equation given was in the factor form. So we are back. Now what we are going to do is to draw our thin line somewhere here and group or equate the factors to 0. So x plus 4 equals 0, x plus 3 equals 0. Let's find our value x. So x is equal to 4 is taken to this side, we have negative 4, and the other value of x is equal to 3 is taken to this side and we have negative 3. So in conclusion, x is equal to the smaller number first, negative 4, or negative 3, and these are the roots to our quadratic equation. X squared plus 7x plus 12 equals 0. The second question, the third question, and then the fourth question. Try all these in your book or your writing materials. I will provide solutions to all these questions in short, right? So please, after solving, take your time to go through my short and validate your answer. Thank you. The next type 3, the third type, still under the factorization method. So when our given equation is in the form ax² minus bx is equal to 0, how do we solve this quadratic equation? So solve the following equation. Now our first equation, x² minus 5x equals 0. Let's solve this one together. X² minus 5x equals 0. Now let's compare the equation to this, to the general equation ax² plus bx plus c is equal to 0. So from this given equation, our a is the coefficient of x², which is 1. Our b is the coefficient of x, which is -5. And from here there is no c, so c would be 0. So equations of these kinds are of the form ax² minus bx equals 0, where c is not given. So where c is not given, equation of this form, how do we solve? So from here we are going to come out with the common thing. Since there is an x, there is an x, so x is factored out. So if x is taken out, one of the x remains, minus, if x is taken out of this, there is 5, then we equate it to 0. So still under type 1, x is equal to 0. So my thin line somewhere here, x is equal to 0 as one root, and x minus 5 is equal to 0. So our x is equal to 5. And these are the roots of our equation. These are the roots or the solution of our equation. So in conclusion, x is equal to 0 or 5. So these are our roots. What I've always noticed is students also have diverse ways of doing this, and I want to raise concern about this. It's not the right approach. So with the same question, x² minus 5x is equal to 0. So let's watch out how students go by with this, and I think it's the wrong approach. So what students normally do is, since this is a quadratic equation, then why don't I now write it this way? X² is equal to, then the 5 minus 5x is taken to this side and it becomes 5x. And since there is an x here, there is an x here, why don't I divide through by x? So x² equals 5x, x² divided by x, 5x divided by x. So in doing this, one of the x gets rid of this, so there is still x here, and then x cancels off x. So x is equal to 5, and they always conclude this way. But this is a wrong approach. This is a wrong approach because any quadratic equation comes with two roots or two solutions. So the outcome of any quadratic equation is 2. The roots or the solutions are 2. But from this root, we have only x to be 5. And this is the wrong approach. So please, let's do the needful that any quadratic equation has two solutions. So to my students and to my loved ones and to the family out there,
Subscribe, like and
is
share.
a wrong approach. So we shouldn't stick to this. This is a wrong approach. But rather stick to this approach, which is the right approach. The second question, the third question would be solved in a short. So please subscribe to my channel, watch all the shorts, watch my videos, give me thumbs up, and put me on post notification anytime I post new video. The last type still under factorization. So when our given equation is in the form ax squared minus c equals 0, how do we solve these kinds of quadratic equations? Now let's solve the following equations. Okay, so equations of this kind, how do we solve this? So let's solve together. X squared minus 4 equals 0. Okay, so when the equation is given this way, where a is noted to be 1, b is noted to be 0, and c is noted to be -4, always our constant term, which is 4, always you should place emphasis on the constant term when the equation is given this way. If the constant term is a perfect square number, if our constant term is a perfect square number, always write it in an index form. So writing this in an index form, that would be x squared minus 2 raised to the power 2 equals 0. So looking at this, our x is to the power 2, our 2 is also to the power 2, and this form of equation is called difference of two squares. So there is a difference, which is the negative sign, and there are two squares, which is x squared and 2 squared. So the simplified form of this would be, anytime you encounter this, a squared minus b squared equals 0. So this is expanded as a plus b multiplying b minus a minus b equals 0. So we are going to write our expression x squared minus 2 squared in this separate bracket. So we have our x plus 2. The second bracket also takes x minus 2 equals 0, and this leads us to the factor 4, which was the first approach, the first type. This leads us to the first type. So our 10 line here, x plus 2 equals 0 and x minus 2 equals 0. So we are finding for the zeros. So x is equal to 2 to the side negative 2, x is equal to 2 to the side positive 2. So in conclusion, x is equal to the smaller number first, negative 2 or 2. And this or these are the solutions or the roots to this equation. So anytime the equation is given in this form, whereby our constant number is a perfect square number, make sure we solve using the difference of two squares. So our second and then our third equation, please try on your own, and after solving I'll provide shorts on this so that you compare with your answer. Thank you. Subscribe to the channel and let's make science and maths a reality.
Subscribe, like and share. Subscribe, like and share.